Greater Good Radio. Connect, learn, heal, and grow. The story in our head is typically, a lot of times, it's not perfect.
No.
Yeah.
And often we've vilified people and we've decided that they don't want to work. And, then we find evidence to continue to support that. And so it's really just like check all those stories. And if you can, like just let go of those, show up curious, ask the questions, invite the dialogue, and see where that takes you.
It comes back to the whole piece of connection.
Yeah, completely.
If there's no connection there, you're not going to have a very productive dialogue no matter what. Because when you're dealing with like a dyadic situation, like two people, it's very similar to couples therapy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The startup on that, whether it's soft, they call it like a soft startup, how you enter into that conversation will like determine the entire thing on whether it goes, one way or the other.
Yes.
And they're all very, very similar foundational kind of practices and teachings.
Yeah.
That couples therapy would be very similar to that type of thing. So to me, like, okay, this is what you can say or so on. But if you don't have the connection there, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No one's listening. They're just protecting against what they think is going to be coming next.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the potential breakthrough, though, in those difficult conversations is if I'm working with the manager who's getting ready to have a difficult conversation, if I can get that manager to share with me some of the stories in their head and I can ask them, are you sure about that? What other potential things could be going on? And sort of let them start seeing beyond their stories. Then they can go in a little more open. And I do think even just a little more openness sometimes has the other person show up a little differently, like, oh, maybe we are going to be able to have a conversation here. So I haven't seen it too many times where it's like earth shattering, but it's more a process of a little more curiosity, a little more trust, a little more curiosity, a little more trust.
Well, the hard thing is when you go into an engagement with agenda already in mind, and set, the other person's defensive.
Yeah.
Because they have to, because they're pushing in, they have to push back.
Yeah.
Or they got to leave.
Yes.
Right. Which in the younger generation now, it's just easier to leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, where'd they all go?
Right.
It's just easier to leave.
Right.
On things like this, if you look at the pattern, the way the pattern typically goes is like, this is what's frustrating me or so on. This is the behavior that shows up. These are the things that are on the surface. And it causes these emotions inside of me, right? Sadness, anger, whatever they may be. And then I'll create a story around that to make sense of it.
Yep.
And then from that story, I'll react to it. And then out of that reaction is because I'm afraid of something else that's happening.
Yeah.
When what I really need is something else.
Yeah.
And when you can really get down to what I really need is that.
Yeah.
And then the other side actually knows what that is. Both sides actually really know each other's true needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your solution is really quick after that.
Yep.
Until then, it's gridlock.
We teach managers to talk about the facts, like state the facts, the objective facts. You came in Tuesday at 9:30.
Yeah.
You missed the report deadline. You went on vacation without ever submitting those. Those three things lead me to believe, lead me to feel, lead me the story
It's like
I'm telling
nonviolent
myself.
communication.
Right? It is nonviolent, right?
Oh, okay, that's
and then
nonviolent communication
do I
pattern.
have that correct? And then just wide open space. And then the beauty of that is if then the other person can see from your perspective, these are my facts, and this is what that would lead me to believe. It becomes logical. It's a very logical conversation.
So if you want to take it a little bit further then, and you're going like NVC style, then it would be like, this is what's happening. You're coming in late. I noticed that on Tuesday, came in late, Wednesday late, this one's late. And when I notice that, I feel concerned. I feel worried. I feel a little bit dismissed. I'm trying to use ones that are not like diagnosis of there's an opinion in there, because what I need is to feel confident in our work relationship and that was going on. So can I ask you to do this? That's kind of the pattern. I didn't do it as nicely and smoothly, but it's more along that. And then that way they can see the full kind of cycle. Because otherwise it comes as a complaint of frustration, an attack.
Right. When we were talking earlier about how do you help people like create safe workplace, things like that, more of those tools, they don't need to be deep mental health, cognitive therapy kinds of things, but like those frameworks, the more we can teach people to engage in those kinds of frameworks and like give them the actual practical tools, I think that is really, really, really important. And as I'm saying that out loud, I'm thinking about what are some of those additional tools we could provide.
That and having the proper guardrails in place.
Yeah, because the frameworks create the guide rails, right?
Well, you have to keep them within it. Yeah. Because the minute someone's like, well, let me clarify on that. Let me ask a question in regards to this or so on. And then judgment enters. And then now you have an argument.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the guardrails need to be pretty tightly in place when it's heated. If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, Please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.